Existence and calm. 70% of people will experience it at some point in their lives, that cold, creeping certainty that they don't actually belong where they are, that any day now someone is going to walk through the door, point at them, and say, "You don't deserve to be here." 70%. That's most of the room, most of the office, most of the world. But here's what's strange about you. You feel it even when the evidence says otherwise. You feel it after the promotion, after the applause, after someone tells you how much you've changed their life. The proof lands right in front of you, and something in you quietly sets it aside. That's not self-doubt. That's something far more specific and far more interesting. You weren't always like this. There was a version of you, younger, less guarded, who raised their hand without rehearsing the answer first, who walked into a room and didn't immediately scan it for reasons they didn't belong. That child didn't second-guess their right to take up space. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being wrong carried a cost. Maybe you were praised so intensely for being the smart one that being anything less felt catastrophic. Maybe you watched someone get humiliated for not knowing something, and you filed that away like a warning. Maybe excellence became the only version of you that felt safe to show. So you got good, genuinely, remarkably good, and then the cruelest trick happened. The better you became, the more you had to lose. Every achievement raised the stakes of being found out. And here you are now, capable beyond what most people see, and still quietly waiting for the floor to give way. In 1978, psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes published a paper that gave a name to what you've been carrying. They called it the impostor phenomenon. But here's what nobody tells you about that original research. It wasn't describing people who weren't capable. It was describing high-achieving individuals who had developed a persistent internal belief that their success was undeserved, accidental, or the result of fooling everyone around them. Clance later developed the impostor phenomenon scale, and what she found wasn't a sign of incompetence. It was almost exclusively found in people who were actually performing at a high level. The phenomenon didn't show up in people who weren't doing the work. It showed up in people who were doing it exceptionally well and still couldn't integrate that truth into their self-concept. Your brain isn't lying to you because you failed. It's lying to you because you've succeeded in a way it never learned to trust. So where does that distrust come from? Here's the part that tends to stop people mid-scroll. Developmental psychologist Carol Dweck spent decades studying how children form beliefs about their own intelligence. What she found was that children praised for being smart rather than for working hard learned to treat intelligence as a fixed, fragile thing to be protected rather than a skill to be developed. The moment difficulty arrived, it didn't feel like a challenge, it felt like exposure. If you grew up in an environment where your worth was tied to your output, your grades, your behavior, your achievements, then your nervous system learned something very specific. Performance equals safety. Not performing means the safety disappears. It's not a flaw, it's a blueprint your younger self drew to survive. You became extraordinary at meeting the bar because the alternative felt unthinkable. That hypervigilance, that relentless self-scrutiny, it was protection. It kept something intact when something precious felt fragile. But protection has a price, and you know this better than anyone. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Vocational Behavior found that chronic imposter feelings are strongly linked to burnout, anxiety, and lower job satisfaction, even in people who are objectively outperforming their peers. You can be the most prepared person in the room and still lie awake recalibrating every word you said in a meeting. You could receive glowing feedback and spend the next hour finding reasons it doesn't count. Research from Brigham Young University found that imposter feelings can push high performers toward over-preparation and perfectionism to the point of paralysis, spending 3 hours on something that needed 30 minutes, not because you're inefficient, but because good enough doesn't feel like a real destination. The trait that made you exceptional is also the one quietly exhausting you. That tension deserves to be named honestly. You're not imagining the weight of it. Here's what the same research reveals when you keep reading past the warning signs. A 2021 study from the European Journal of Work and Organizational Psychology found that people who experience imposter feelings demonstrate significantly higher levels of intellectual curiosity, openness to feedback, and collaborative behavior than those who don't. They ask better questions, they listen more carefully, they're less likely to stop growing because they've never fully believed they've arrived. Where arrogance closes doors, your particular form of self-doubt keeps them open. Philosopher Bertrand Russell once observed that the whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts. You have been misreading your uncertainty as weakness. In rooms full of people who stopped questioning themselves long ago, your doubt is not the thing holding you back. It is the thing keeping you honest. Society has a word for you like that: insecure. It implies something missing, something unformed, something that needs to be fixed before you can be taken seriously. But that word was never accurate. The real word, the one that actually fits, is epistemically humble. It means you hold your own conclusions lightly. You remain open to being wrong because you understand that being wrong is how precision is achieved. The people who never doubt themselves aren't more confident than you, they're less calibrated. You're not someone who doesn't believe in themselves, you're someone who refuses to believe in a version of yourself that hasn't been tested. That's not insecurity, that's intellectual integrity. So if you've made it here, there's something you need to hear directly. The fact that you question whether you belong is not proof that you don't. It is proof that belonging matters to you, that you take seriously the space you occupy and the people around you. That is not a small thing. Psychologist Valerie Young, who has spent her career studying this phenomenon, found that the goal isn't to eliminate the feeling entirely. The goal is to stop letting it make decisions for you. You can feel like an imposter and still speak up. You can feel uncertain and still move forward. The feeling is not a stop sign. It never was. You have always been more real than the voice that questions you. You have always been more prepared than you've let yourself believe. The only thing that has ever been missing is your own permission to know it. What does your inner voice sound like right now? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. You were never the fraud.